Hi everyone, I'm Garland Mason with Agriability Virginia. In this presentation, we'll introduce Agriability Virginia and provide an overview of our program. You'll hear a firsthand account from a farmer who worked with Agriability Virginia and now serves on our advisory group. We'll talk a little bit about farm safety, health, and wellness publications and resources that we've developed that are available on our website. We'll discuss on-farm safety and provide some tips. We'll discuss farm stress and then agritourism safety. We'll go over farm emergency planning and provide an overview of the Virginia Farm Emergency Plan created by Livy Preaser, who's an extension agent in Isle of Wight County. And then last, we'll give our contact information and some information about the National Agriability Project and resources that are available for all states. Agriability Virginia is a USDA NIFA-funded partnership program assisting farmers and farm workers with disability, illness, injury, or impairment to continue working safely and efficiently with dignity. We provide educational programs, rehabilitative services and advocacy, culturally relevant outreach like what we're doing today with the Mid-Atlantic Strawberry School, assistive technology assessment, and human-centered design. We're a collaboration between Virginia Tech, Virginia State University, Virginia Cooperative Extension, and Easter Seals UCP of Virginia and North Carolina. We also have our advisory group, which consists of farmer members as well as people from the Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services, rural health workers, and others. We also are partnered with the National Agriability Program out of Purdue University. And there are agriability programs in 28 different states. So if you're not from Virginia, you can check out whether or not there's an agriability program in your state on the National Agriability website.
I'm Jeremy Daubert. I'm the dairy extension agent in the Valley, and I cover one of the agriability field staff covering Valley, Virginia, and Central Virginia.
Hello, my name is Tony Edwards. I work with the Small Farm Outreach Program and the Veteran Coordinator for the same. I work with Agriability in the Southeastern Virginia, and I'm here for your service.
And I'm Garland Mason. I'm the coordinator for Agriability Virginia, and I work across the state, but I mostly do farm visits in Southwest Virginia. We address a wide variety of farm safety and wellness needs. These could include arthritis and natural illnesses due to aging. It could be cerebral palsy, respiratory impairments from the job or otherwise, head injury or stroke, loss of mobility, brain injury, spinal cord injury, and we also address mental health and stress. We generally support small and mid-sized farms, but we also work with larger farms. We work in rural and urban settings and everything in between. We work with new and young farmers, military veterans, socially disadvantaged farmers, the plain community, and farm workers and farm families, as well as caregivers. So how does Agriability work? What's the process? So once somebody contacts or is referred to us, they'll be connected with an Agriability Virginia staff member, either Tony, Jeremy, or myself. Usually it's me because I'm the statewide coordinator. So then I would pass along somebody in Jeremy or Tony's region to one of them. Then one of us will conduct an intake where we learn a little bit more about the farmer and what they've been dealing with over the phone or over Zoom. And then we do an on-farm assessment to see the farmer's day-to-day operations and see what they're struggling with. On our on-farm assessment, we try to understand how the farmer's illness, injury, or disability may be impacting their work. And this allows us to develop suggestions for the farmer, like what assistive technology might be useful or adaptive tools, or any new policies or procedures for farm operations that might make them safer or easier given the farmer's disability, illness, or injury. We don't have any funding on our own to provide the tools or assistive technologies that we recommend, but we often partner with the Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services to procure some funds for those tools or assistive technologies. And we also have access to some other funding or funding streams that we can advise the farmer on. So just some examples of farmers we're currently working with. We're working with quite a few military veteran beginning farmers who have general pain and injuries from their military service, as well as PTSD and other mental health concerns. We're working with quite a few clients in wheelchairs right now who need help getting into their tractors or getting around their farm fields. We're working with quite a few mixed vegetable farmers, and we're also working with a farmer who just had a stroke and is struggling to get in and out of his tractor. We're going to hear from one of these farmers now. We'll hear from Terry, who's an advisory group member and also is a farmer who used to work with Agriability.
After seeing her farm, we came out to where my husband and I live, and we have a nice little farm, but we had lots of different animals and we hadn't really been growing much of anything. So we said, let's do some flowers. So we started doing flowers. We had three 50-foot rows, and we did that during the spring, and then we planted lots of zinnias, and when they came in, we went and sold them at the Hopewell Market. And that was just the beginning, and that was so much fun. Then I had a blood clot in my right arm, and I ended up in the hospital for over a month and had 5 surgeries, and it was a terrible time. My arm was totally immobile. My hand wouldn't work. And so at one of these conferences I went to, I ran into Joe Young with Agriability. There was 2 engineers there that took what I had, our different tools, and adapted them. And this is one of them, if you can see this. He adapted this for me, and I'm still using it. And it's a wonderful shovel. It's heavy, but I couldn't use it at all. And now I can use it. I can adapt it with my hand, can hold it. We might not be going to the market and all, but we still have flowers all over our yard. And grow a garden every year, and we work in that. And to be able to still be able to dig and not to have to depend on my husband to do it when he's out doing different things, I can just go out in the garden and do whatever I want to do because I have the tools and the ability to do it. It was just so good to be still be part of the farming community. They are a whole different breed of people. They're wonderful, and I'm so glad that I can go out and be part of it, and to be in the on the advisory group makes me feel I'm part of it, and I like being part of it.
So we also developed a number of resources through the Farm Safety, Health, and Wellness Initiative, and those are available on our website at agriabilityvirginia.org. And then you click on resources and then on Farm Safety, Health, and Wellness resources. But just to give you a little overview of what we developed, we have a number of resources on farm financial health and financial stress. We also have some on farm stress and grief in the time of COVID. We developed a Virginia Farm Emergency Plan, which we'll share later on in this presentation. We have some mental health case studies that were developed through our partnership with Mary Baldwin University, occupational therapy and physical therapy students. We have a decision-making tree and some other resources there that you can check out. So just a few quick notes about on-farm safety. We wanted to point out that farm occupations are among the most dangerous in the US, next to timber industry and other dangerous jobs. And so it's important to be mindful of on-farm safety while you're working. We also wanted to point out that the average age of farmers is 58 to 59 in the US. And so people in that age group are more prone to injuries and illnesses due to aging bodies. We also found that there's a higher rate of fatal injuries on farms among children and elderly farm workers, and especially in agritourism and fruit operations, this could be a concern. And then there are also chronic health conditions and comorbidities among the general population that make people more susceptible to injury and illness and disability on the farm. So just a few things to note is that operating machinery, one needs to be careful, especially with tractors. It's important to have a rollover protection system or ROPS. It's also important to be careful around the PTO, the power takeoff, and just be mindful operating machinery that you're operating something that is very dangerous. Something to keep in mind is also wearing hearing protection. Here on the slide, you can see some earmuffs or some earplugs. It's really important to protect your hearing when you're operating machinery. Farmers often don't consider protection from sun exposure or sun exposure at all as a risk, but sun exposure is a huge risk, and people who work outside are much more prone to skin cancer, so that's something to be mindful of. Safe pesticide application. I know you all probably go to the pesticide school and do continuing education credits, but it's important to be mindful when working with chemicals, and also to not store chemicals in soda bottles or anything that is not their original container and is not clearly marked. So just be aware of that. Eye protection when working with machinery, working with pesticides, working in the fields is really important. Sunglasses for eye protection are important when working in the sun. And then goggles are important when working with pesticides. So just be mindful of that. There's also exposure to the elements in farming. So hypothermia and heat illness is a real risk. Be aware of heat stroke, heat exhaustion, and you can wear a cooling vest or something around your neck. A wet rag even can help with heat illnesses, and just get out of the sun, get out of the heat as often as you can in the summer months. There are also a bunch of overuse injuries, impact injuries that can occur. Vibration from the tractor is something that is stressful to the body over time, and cumulative trauma. So just be mindful as the body ages to get off the tractor more slowly and don't jump around as much. And don't, be careful if you have an injured limb. It could be a partial fracture. So just be aware of kind of babying yourself a little bit and being careful with your body, because it's one of your biggest assets as a farmer. And then slips, trips, and falls are big issues on farms. It's an uneven landscape usually. It's a lot of carrying things around. So just be mindful of avoiding falls, keeping pathways clear, and look at our on-farm safety resources on our website, and you can peruse those. We also just recently had a webinar on injury prevention for farmers on February 16th of 2021, and you can find that on our website as well.
Hello, I'm Jeremy Daubert, Rockingham County Dairy Extension Agent. As part of the Farm Safety and Health and Agriability teams, we've been doing farm stress trainings. Part of this is mental health first aid. I would encourage everybody to do mental health first aid trainings. These are available in most local communities, either through community service organizations, local sheriff's offices, and some extension offices are doing these mental health first aid trainings. Mental health first aid is just like regular first aid. It doesn't teach you to be a counselor, but it helps you with the initial response to somebody that may be in distress or having a lot of stress in their life. It's very important that everybody is able to do this mental health first aid if they need it. Some other trainings that we're doing are weathering the storm in agriculture, which is for producers, and communicating with farmers under stress. This one is more for people that work with farmers and help to identify a farmer that's in distress and may be considering suicide. Some other trainings that agents around Virginia have been doing are farm dinner theaters that have been very successful. So what is stress? Stress is defined as a need or a demand people confront. that is perceived as burdensome or threatening. Not all stress is bad. When we are excited about something, like a wedding, for instance, we feel anticipation. This stress is called eustress. This is good stress. Our bodies are designed to use stress to help get things done faster, to get things done ahead of a storm as it's coming through. In a time of need, our bodies are designed that this stress helps us out. However, when we suffer from too much stress, and particularly if it is over a long period of time, this is called distress. The stress hormones that get in your blood, cortisol and epinephrine, over long periods of time really can cause a lot of damage to our bodies and to our health. So one of the most important things when trying to de-stress is identifying stress in yourself. How does stress affect you? Stress affects everybody differently. So what are the physical signs of stress in you? Do you get achy? Do you get sore? Do you get sleepy? Do you get anxious? Knowing how stress affects you can help you manage it in yourself. What are some signs of mental stress? Do you get headaches? Migraines? Again, identifying these stresses in yourself can help you to manage them. What about actions? Do you get angry? Do you get irritable? Everybody responds differently to stress. So it's really important that you can identify it in yourself so that you can start to manage it. There are many things that you can do to manage stress in yourself. You can do a lot of these things by yourself or with others, and they have no cost. Thinking positively, talking positively to yourself. These are things that you can do. Breathing, stop and take a big breath. Have you ever heard just stop and take a breath and relax for a minute? It really does help. Just stop, take a few breaths, do some breathing exercises, think about something else, think about something positive. You can really de-stress yourself quickly. Exercise is also a very good mechanism for de-stressing. Find out what works for you so that you can help de-stress yourself. So how does stress affect others? One of the things we talk about in our half-day workshops is noticing how stress affects others and how you can help other people. Some people show the same signs of stress that you may see in yourself. You can empathize with these people. Other people will have completely different signs of stress. Again, everybody handles stress differently. It is important when you're working with other people to show empathy and not sympathy. Think about it this way. Sympathy is just talking to somebody about their problems. Empathy is really getting down on the same level as somebody and understanding their problems. You may not have all the answers, but you can listen and you can understand. Try to understand their problems. Don't look down upon anybody. When you're doing this. So it's important to know the warning signs of suicide. There are many things. Again, you'll learn if you go through the mental health first aid training that I talked about, you'll learn all of the warning signs of suicide. Most people will show signs of suicide if they're thinking about it. They'll ask questions. They'll start giving things away. They'll have changes in behavior. Some people will actually be relieved once they've decided on suicide. They might give away family heirlooms. There are different things that different people will do, but it's important to sort of notice changes in behavior, changes in how people are acting. Look for signs of depression. People that normally are outgoing and all of a sudden aren't outgoing could be signs of depression or severe distress. It is important that you can recognize these changes in behavior in people. And again, offer them empathy, get down on their level, and help them out. There is suicide hotlines and many resources online to help you and to help people. It is important to understand that stress is normal. Everybody experiences stress. Not all stress is bad, but chronic stress can be really bad for your health, both your mental and physical health. Reach out to your local extension or a counselor, or maybe just a friend that you're willing to talk to if you need help.
Hi, everyone. I'm Liza Dobson, the Community Outreach Coordinator for Agriability Virginia. I'm just going to pop in real quick and talk a little bit about agritourism safety. I do want to say that the majority of this little segment is pulled from Livy Prizer's presentation, which I will offer the link and some information at the end of this segment. So agritourism is any activity carried out on a farm or ranch that the general public can access for recreation, entertainment, or educational purposes. Strawberry farms often participate in agritourism through you-pick strawberry activities, on-farm stores or markets where they sell fresh strawberries or value-added products, or even sell products from other local farms, as well as strawberry festivals. Other common agritourism examples include bed and breakfasts, trail rides, weddings, corn mazes, hay rides, and even breweries or wineries are considered agritourism. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what is important to consider when managing liability when you have visitors on your farm. So we'll talk about staff training, signage, insurance, and emergency planning. So it's very important to, in general, whether or not you have employees on the farm, whether or not you have visitors on the farm, to train your employees on thoroughly on how to use, park, clean equipment safely. Using equipment safely is very important. If you have visitors on the farm, it could look different for your employees navigating equipment through more touristy farm sites. And continued education is also really important. So teaching employees how to do something once doesn't necessarily mean that they will do it that way throughout their tenure on the farm. So it's really easy to forget how to do certain things, especially if you haven't done it in a couple of weeks, a lot of seasonal work. And it's really easy to cut corners on safety. So continued education and continued training is really important. It's also important to consider training employees on what to do in an emergency, as well as how to administer basic first aid, especially if you have visitors on the farm and you have a larger farm and there's multiple employees across the farm. It's important that all your employees know what to do if an emergency occurs. It's really important to think about signage. So signs are a great way for visitors to understand what is and isn't safe on a farm and where they should and shouldn't go. So oftentimes visitors are participating in agritourism because they don't have a lot of experience on farms. They're not familiar with agriculture and they're not familiar with farm hazards. So what you would consider to be common sense on the farm may not be obvious to those folks. An example would be, some folks may not understand that not all animals are petting zoo animals. And so signs to let them know which animals they should stay away from and which ones are safe and how to interact with those animals are very important. It's important to include signs with images as well as signs with multiple languages if your visitors have various lingual backgrounds. So an example would be including multiple signs around a petting zoo in English, Spanish, and Arabic. If you've got kind of a diverse group of folks visiting your farm, around a petting zoo that say, wash your hands after petting animals before eating or drinking. So including multiple Virginia agritourism statute signs, which I'll show an example of that on the next slide, in multiple places around the farm where visitors have access, is a great way to let folks know that they are liable for they are taking risks and that they would be liable for any injuries that occur on your property. So having those at the entrance before folks come in the parking lot, as they arrive, where they're getting tickets, as well as when they're leaving the farm. So having those in multiple places as well. So signage is very, very important. So here's an example of the Virginia liability agritourism statute. It often has a warning. It says warning or attention at the top, and then has these phrases underneath. Other examples of signage that you can have on your farm, just very simple, please do not touch the equipment. Having a sign like that will often make it so that people refrain from doing that activity, but it also makes it so that you are not liable when someone does touch the equipment. Makes you less liable. Another example would be this sign here on the bottom left, caution, this animal may bite. You can see that it is in 2 languages, both English and Spanish. And then another sign just so people understand where they should be parking and what they should and shouldn't be doing. So signage is very, very important when you have visitors coming to your farm for safety, organization, and liability. Insurance. And so often a lot of farms have insurance coverage, but when you're having visitors come to your farm, you may need to add some additional coverage around agritourism. So you should check with your insurance provider before you start inviting folks to the farm and participating in agritourism. Check in with them to see if you need to do anything to protect yourself, and even invite them, have an insurance agent come out to walk the farm, and they will be able to be a second set of eyes, a fresh set of eyes, so that they can look around and see if there are any safety hazards on your farm, and let you know if there are any changes on your farm that need to be made, or any changes to your coverage. Emergency planning is highly recommended and really important for especially for any farm, but especially if you're inviting visitors to your farm. Making a plan in case of an emergency and training all your staff and employees on that plan is a great way for everybody to be on the same page on what to do if something happens. Making checklists for events or daily tasks that may pose a risk to visitors is also a great idea. If you have a monthly event, it's easy to forget what you need to do as safety-wise for that event. If 4 weeks have gone by or 3 weeks have gone by. So making a checklist so that every event is as safe as the event before and the event after is really a great idea. I really love the idea of making a farm map for any emergency personnel who respond to an on-farm incident. So a lot of farms are really big and farmers have different names for different fields and are really familiar with the farm. However, if something happens, emergency personnel may be showing up to your farm for the first time and don't know where you are or where the incident is. And so having a map that's prominently displayed so that when somebody shows up and all the staff know where it is, people can point to the map and know exactly where you are on the farm much more easily. A great way to have those first responders to be familiar with your farm is to invite them out to learn the layout. One idea that some farms do is offer half-price tickets to first responders, for half-price admission. So if they, it's an incentive to get folks to come to your farm so that when they show up during an emergency, they are hopefully not arriving for the first time and they're more familiar so that they can respond more quickly. Some general safety tips and considerations that Livy offers in her presentation. Equipment. So don't leave keys in equipment. It only takes a few seconds for somebody to hop on a piece of machinery and turn the key and put it in drive. And so not leaving keys in equipment when you know visitors are around. We know that signage doesn't stop everybody. So that is a great and easy way for you to prevent any accidents on your farm. Another great way to, another good consideration is to block the wheels. Very easy, so that if somebody does hop on your equipment and they take the emergency brake off, your equipment doesn't roll and cause an incident. Fire extinguishers, it's a good idea to keep a fire extinguisher on each piece of equipment and in all the buildings. We all know that tractors can catch on fire. And if you're in the middle of the field and your tractor catches on fire, you can just grab that fire extinguisher and put it out really quickly. Chemical storage. If you have visitors coming to your farm, especially children, it's really important to lock up any chemicals and label all chemicals that you may have on the farm and keep them away. Livestock. So like I said in the beginning, visitors are not always very aware of the dangers of livestock. And so labeling places where visitors should and shouldn't go is really important. Fencing those places out, physical barriers are also a great idea so that they know which animals they can touch and which animals they shouldn't go near. Similar with ponds, bodies of water, fencing those out and signage to prevent accidents is a great idea. And first aid kits. Having first aid kits everywhere is a great idea, and training your employees on how to find and use those first aid kits is also a really great idea. So big thanks to Livy. She has an excellent 45-minute webinar. The recording is available on the Beginning Farmer and Rancher Coalition website in the webinar archive. And so if you're interested in learning more and having a more in-depth presentation, I highly encourage you to navigate to that and watch the whole thing.
Now we'll allow Livy Preaser, who's an extension agent in Isle of Wight County in Virginia, to introduce the Farm Emergency Plan. She's recorded a Zoom presentation on the Virginia Farm Emergency Plan. You can also refer to this document on our website, and also her recording of the Virginia Farm Emergency Plan walking through the document is available on our website, as well as the Virginia Beginning Farmer and Rancher Coalition website. So enjoy.
Hello, everyone. This is Livy Pricer with the Isle of Wight County Extension Office, and I am a part of the Farm Safety, Health, and Wellness Project through Virginia Cooperative Extension. And over the past few months, we have worked on creating a Virginia Farm Emergency Plan for our agriculture producers throughout the Commonwealth. So what is a farm emergency plan, and why should you create one? The purpose of a farm emergency plan is to help agriculture operations proactively prepare for management of unexpected hazardous situations. A thorough and current farm emergency plan can help minimize first responder response times and assist with site location accuracy during an emergency. Farm emergency plans should be utilized as well as communicating training tools for operational employees, family members, etc. If done properly, a farm emergency plan can be one of the most effective and invaluable tools to have around. This farm emergency plan is a template. It can be used for any type of agriculture operation, whether you are livestock, commercial crop, horticulture, agritourism, a UPIC operation, or a farm stand or farm market. If you have any feedback, please feel free to contact me if you feel like something should be added. My contact information will be at the end of the plan. You should have this plan stored in several different locations, and you should update it annually. We also suggest, once you're done with your plan, to laminate it. That way it's free from any water damage. And we suggest that you put this in tractors, combine trucks, pesticide storage sheds, offices, and any other central location where employees may be found. If you don't have access to laminating, please try and keep it in a binder or folder that will help with the durability of the plan. It's important to share this information with all of your employees and all of your family members, as they may need to know this if and when an accident happens. It's also important to share this plan with your first responders, being police, EMS, and fire. And if the operation is multi-generation, all should be covered in the plan. Again, it should be updated annually and should be covered again with all new employees or family members. And here is the first page of the template. Of course, we're going to have you put your farm name and the date that it's completed, because we'd like to see you guys update this annually. Then we have a little section of about the farm, the owner, the vice president, or managers and other workers. These will be the point of contacts for the farm. So if an emergency was to happen, we should be able to contact you via phone or email, text, and please put everybody on here that could be that point of contact, whether it's a spouse, another manager, a son or a daughter with the farm operation. And then if you have an emergency, of course, call 911. If 911 doesn't work, here's a list of numbers or departments that you should put your local contact numbers in. Your local fire department, local EMS, your sheriff, your animal control, the Virginia State Police number is listed there. Local hospital number or a doctor office, veterinarian, whether that's small or large animal, if you use that. Local VDAX pesticide investigator, you can put their number there. The general VDAX number is listed as well. The VDAX pesticide division general number is listed there. Virginia Poison Control, if you ever should need that, is listed there. The National Response Center number is there, and then the National Suicide Prevention line is also listed there. The next part of the farm emergency plan is the directions to the farm from all major highways or roads. It's very important that you include a map of your farm with fields or land work, highlighting all major landmarks, where to enter the fields, where it's safe to possibly land a helicopter if needed. If you can include a map of, a larger map of the area. I know one of our farms here in Isle of Wight, they only farm, within 10 miles of their house. So if you could include a map with all of those fields and all of the land that you own, that way, in case of an incident in a field, 10 miles from the farm, we can figure out, okay, here's the point of entryway that an ambulance can get through, or a fire truck. Here's where a helicopter can land. It's very important that you put all of this in here. That way, if an emergency should happen, we are able to find you and locate you. If you have names for your fields or the land that you work, it's also important to put them on here as well, because if you are hiring an employee or a new family member is coming on board, they may not know all the names of the fields. And also your local fire and EMS probably aren't going to know all of your names for your fields or different areas of the farm, so it's important that you label them as well. Specific numbers for your operation. This is where you can really tailor the farm emergency plan to meet your needs. We have departments and contact numbers, fire department chief, EMS coordinator, local gas company, electric company if you have a farm mechanic, a chemical dealer, equipment dealer, your local Virginia Cooperative Extension agent if they can help you in any way possible, your loan officer if you utilize them, an insurance agent, farm service agency, local office, family doctor, family therapist, and then we have 2 other sections. Again, this is where you can tailor it to specific numbers for your operations. So if you deal with your VDAX, your local VDAX grader on a day-to-day basis, you can add them here. If you deal with your local farm bureau, service provider, you can put them here. Basically, just tailor it to your operation and whatever your need is. Here's the primary contact, secondary contact information. These would be the farm operations, your manager, your vice president, your owner, things like that, the name, address, daytime phone numbers, nighttime phone number, email, any other way to contact you. I know some folks still use pagers. I know some farmers that don't use cell phones. So how else could we get in contact with you? A house phone, or maybe your spouse, or maybe your son or daughter has a phone that we could call them on. It's very important to keep this up to date. That way, if you are off of the farm and an accident happens, your employee or family member could get a hold of you, or first responders will be able to get a hold of you as well. The farm site is also very important. We need to know the farm physical address, the farm GPS coordinates, and chemical storage address if there ever is a incident with chemical storage, and then other. Just list the addresses here. That way, if we have an accident, we can find the farm, we can find, where the chemicals are stored or where there's a spill, and we are able to get to you quickly. What else should you include in your emergency plan? Operation layout is very, very important. You need to include all land owned, rented, or worked with all the main highways marked with entrances, exits, where power poles are located if possible, where a helicopter could quickly land. If you want to add what the terrain is like, that would also be super helpful. If you operate a UPIC or agritourism operation, it would be helpful to share these layouts for first responders, fire, EMS, and police, because as we all know, a lot of agritourism operators do farm festivals or UPIC operations that are very seasonal, where we have a lot of folks that come out to our farms, and we want to make sure that they're as safe as possible, as well as our farm workers. And so it's very important to share that with our first responders, because most of the time the pumpkin patch or the UPIC area is away from the farm or away from a road. So we need to make sure that first responders can get there quickly. Please mark all major landmarks on the map, such as ponds, chemical storage, if there's septic and wastewater, power lines, grain bins, silos, where first aid kits are located, where fire extinguishers are located, or any other needed emergency documentation is stored. Your E911 address is very important to have in this plan of your farm and all of your rented land as well. Walkthroughs is something that I encourage all of my agritourism producers to do. It's also very important to do on just the general farm area. It's good to do frequent operational checks and document if and when deficiencies are addressed. And updating records, this is very important that you update it annually. Update all numbers if you got a new cell phone, a new email, if you change veterinarians, if you change businesses that you work with. Also update locations of farmland or rented land to reflect safe entrances, etc. You also want to update this annually with any employees that may come on board, or any new family members that come on board as well. If you have anybody that is CPR or first aid trained, please add that to your plan, because if for whatever reason, if somebody is away from the farm and you have an emergency or you need somebody with CPR or first aid, they know who to call. Medical requirements, if an employee has specific medical requirements, please address that in here as well. If you have somebody that is allergic to latex, has asthma, food or medical allergies, it's very important to know that ahead of time as well. Keep that in this file as well. And then customize. We made this a very simple template just to cover the basics. And so it's very important that you customize it to your operation and your needs. If you have anything that you'd like us to add or to consider, please let me know. Again, my name is Libby Pricer. I'm in the Olive White Extension Office, and my email is libby16@vtu.edu, or you can call me at 757-365-6261. And that is our farm emergency plan. And you can find it on the Virginia Cooperative Extension publication site. And we hope that this is a tool that our Virginia agriculture producers will utilize, and hope that it helps them in some way, shape, or form. And I want to thank my Farm Safety, Health, and Wellness project team for helping and assisting in this. And we look forward to working with you, and we hope that you stay safe and healthy, and we hope to see you all soon. Thank you.
Thanks again for attending our presentation. My name is Garland Mason, and I'm the program coordinator for Agriability Virginia. You can reach me at garlandm@vt.edu or at agriabilityvirginia@vt.edu. You can check out our website for all of these resources and more at www.agriabilityvirginia.org. And you can find resources relevant to your state at www.agriability.org. Whether or not your state has an agribility project, you can reach out to your local extension offices, insurance agencies, and tourism boards for more information about agritourism, farm safety, farm stress, and getting assistive technologies to help you continue farming with injury, illness, or disability. Again, thanks so much for joining our presentation today, and please reach out with any questions.